The brawl for the belt rages on as we carry on here with the Quake Pro League, going into our next matchup of the night. Staying true to the North American side of things for now, Harry, as we have cha1n versus ZenAku.
ZenAku. Well, this man has been on a serious grind. I love what he's been doing. Everything he's been doing in terms of scrims, everything has just been constructive. He's not planning it for the short term or for next week. He's doing it for the long term. We've seen that recently. I think he's been speaking to ex-players like Too Good, who's also, giving him like a structure in place to try and learn and prepare for the long run as well.
Cool.
And from what you've seen from him in terms of like what he needs to do, he needs to at least try and adapt better, which normally comes in experience. We know he's in Europe now, playing against all the top European players. And he's done everything he can in terms of what he needs to be done. And he's in it for the long haul. He knows that he's not going to be able to progress and get better overnight. It's not going to take a week or two. It's going to take him at least a good 3 to 6 months to get to where he wants to be. But the main thing is he is at a good point in time. ZenAku is a kind of player where he's extremely hot on his aim. He knows what to do in terms of his movement and control and how to try and at least keep it for as long as possible. But it can be quite difficult at times. We know with ZenAku, he struggles to adapt on certain occasions. But again, that comes on experience. But the amount this guy has done in order to try and work around what needs to be done and how he wants to try and progress further is remarkable. So I've been very, very impressed with how much effort he has actually put into the game in recent times.
No, it's cool. I think Effortless is actually like a really good egg from the community. He's one of those players that in terms of the stuff he's doing behind the scenes, it's not just streaming scrims. He's also being involved in a lot of the content outside of things. We've seen the podcast that he's been getting involved in along with the some of the other endpoint guys. That's been really insightful, looking into his thoughts and feelings of a player and how he's been sort of fitting into the European scene as well, moving into Poland. One of the funny tidbits as well, he did a tweet saying around this time 10 years ago, Harry, back in 2010, he was featured in PC Power Play in Australia, and there's like a little picture of him when he was younger, just talking about him as a rising star, which I think we've come full circle. So it is fun. ZenAku, he's one of my stars of the season. He's certainly a lovely man. His opponent, however, is someone that's been going from strength to strength and only getting more notoriety the more we've seen him. Right, cha1n, I think he's gone from sort of this unstoppable force to now really being quite a refined competitor. He looks so damn good, and he's one of North America's finest that are still on the come up.
I still think he's been playing really, really well. Yeah, he's progressed massively from what we've seen right at the very beginning of the Pro League to now. He's just in kind of purgatory territory in terms of the Hang and Rafa. They're kind of like the gatekeepers still for top two that always will be, probably for a very long time. But cha1n is trying to break that mold and trying to be the next best thing in order to try and push him over the edge, which he definitely can do, but it's just the odd thing that ZenAku has. It's the same issue. They need more experience. It's going to take a very long time. I do feel like they have the potential to do it, as long as their mentality and their head's on straight to make sure it's possible. But this is what I mean. For ZenAku, this is going to be like a true test for him in terms of everything he's learned, and he's living in Europe for a reason, to try and learn all the top European players. Is he actually being able to keep up with the trend to make sure that he can put up a good fight against all these top American players, considering his latency as well?
That is a good point. It seems like he started to learn how to play around it. We always sort of draw the transition, the comparison with Nosfar having to adapt towards the ping. We'll come back to that though when we get into the matchup. For now, let's have a look at the grand scheme that we have here, as we're starting off on Awoken, then going into Molten Falls, and finally it'll be Ruins of Sarnath to shut down the series. So Awoken as a start, be getting an awful lot of airtime tonight, and I love to see it. Awoken's one of my favorite maps in terms of the aggression and unreally paralleled firefights that we get out of it. It's all about gun skill, and with the champion picks we've pulled out here, we're in for a treat. Strog and Pika in play from ZenAku. He likes those fast and furious champions. Then cha1n on Athena. Athena is kind of a really good pick for cha1n. I think he plays it very, very well. From what I've seen in the past from cha1n and Athena, he will leave you in awe, Harry.
This is a ridiculous first map, because I find it funny that cha1n has chosen Awoken, but ZenAku is also very good on Awoken. So I think we're going to be up for an absolute slugfest. It's going to be absolute chaos to start off with. We've had Molten Falls again already, and then we will have the third map, but a little bit different with Runes. We have to see what cha1n can do with the Galena, as of course, because it's one of the bigger maps in the map pool. it's a lot easier, you could say, to hide a lot of those totems. But heading into the first map, ZenAku's who we're going to be starting off with, and to see how the progress has been going and to see if he can do anything against cha1n.
Let's find out how this cookie is going to crumble. Straight in, ZenAku sending out the Pika, trying to be annoying with that droid as the automaton will already start to make its presence felt. 30 seconds through, no first blood being spilled. A little bit slower compared to the other games we've had today, where it seems to be an instant aggression. They actually are opting to create some space between one another and play the basics. Go back for the major items and play it a little bit slower. Heavy's already up. We've got 3 seconds till Mega spawns in. Should be uncontested here, really, for cha1n, but he actually leaps off it, going for the smart play, fighting towards the Heavy early on so he can back off and heal himself into the Mega, guaranteeing the most out of that pickup. Sends himself back forward, though, cascading across the map, ready for the shot on the respawn through the teleporter. That was a nice adjustment to make. I like to see the footwork coming out from the rail already, but it's just chip damage so far, Harry. No real busts up, no lips getting broken.
I love this as well from ZenAku. I'm not sure many people notice, but the tiny little things he's doing, like for example, if he's top mid, he'll literally be balancing and teetering off top mid so he can bounce down and then do something else straight away. He's just thinking 2 steps ahead every single time to get, or at least trying to abuse as much of the speed and movement possible as ZenAku gets the first frag on the board. cha1n still falling behind and trailing behind a little bit here as he knows now that ZenAku and see what he can do to try and pin cha1n down here in the LG room, but it doesn't matter. cha1n's gone through the telly. It's backing away. ZenAku's prioritising the Heavy. But look at this. He's dodging a lot of the rockets here. Apart from that one, the shotgun comes through. And ZenAku still manages to get that second frag. Beautiful stuff.
Oh, and he's not done yet. He's not content with 2. He's hungry for a 3rd, and he's gunning for that triple. As he shoots out the warning shots initially, it was a beautiful transition with the rail as he saw the cross coming over from cha1n. This is a fantastic opening, really. If you boil it down for what it is, ZenAku, this is a hell of a way to start your series versus cha1n. ZenAku's probably had the best season we've seen from him so far. He's been getting better and better every time we get airtime from him. And right now, he is terrorizing cha1n, using the Pika to a good advantage as well, being able to do a nice amount of damage with it on the kamikaze dive. He is low in terms of his own stack, and has to dart around scavenging up some of those smaller items to rebuild himself, as he'll pick up an armor and a couple of health bubbles, dash back over towards rail room and slow down the pace of the game, grinding it back to a halt. Don't think he actually spotted cha1n there as he pushed back over towards the Heavy, so he's given him a bit of breathing room, firing off the tri-bolt spam through the murder hole as well. No one's really going to take the hit. It's only the rocket on the fadeaway that does a lot of damage, and he's battling towards Banana, but he's caught on the doorway. He couldn't get through. ZenAku, the bouncer, denying him entry.
Can't catch me now.
ZenAku, gets taken down in the end as cha1n finally gets the first frag on map number 1. ZenAku, though, he's definitely a bit more well-polished from when I last saw him compete last time round, which is good. It seems like ZenAku's playing a little bit more calculated from what we've seen in previous weeks. But cha1n hanging around that Mega for the time being. It's up now, but he's just trying to delay it as much as he can. Throwing ZenAku off of a little rail there, but ZenAku needs to get out of his position if he can, either go through the telly or go underneath, which he has done. But will he be able to get away with his life as the rail? Will it come through? He's waiting for him to peek, just barely misses, but it doesn't matter. It could be too little too late it is. I'm so surprised ZenAku's still alive. cha1n, though, prioritises the Heavy. Sadly, ZenAku just misses that rail. As cha1n now is going to back away for the time being and see if there's another rotation he can make to pin down ZenAku.
Stutter steps his way by, grabbing the Mega and trying to go back on the chase once again. cha1n, good adjustment there. A lovely little flick with the rail to slow down ZenAku and at least put some pressure on him, as now he is very low. If they get into the next encounter, it should be an easy finish in favor of cha1n, and he will do just that. Sends him off with the LG, cuts his way through him, goes back in for some seconds immediately. He's not content with letting the pace of this one taper off. No, cha1n wants to prove a point here, and this is scary. When cha1n starts to be able to set the pace, and he's the one in control of the tempo, especially on an Athena, where he can grapple his way around, initiate aggressively, and also dip out of fights if he wants to with the grapple, you need to be scared. ZenAku, the response has to come out soon, or cha1n will just build and build a thrall of scones to be sat upon.
5-minute warning.
I say scones? I meant skulls. He's not sitting on bread, Harry. My bad.
We're definitely going to try and get this bread as cha1n with another rail once more, increasing his lead. He was down 2-0, now up 5-2, and ZenAku is just struggling to keep him at bay. He's just like a wild animal at the moment, Jack. He's pushing straight through. Will he be able to clean up? Yes, he does. Left on 49 HP. cha1n is just slowly but surely running away with it, but needs to be a bit more careful now. He's hasn't got as much of a stack as he did previously, but ZenAku needs to stop letting things get out of hand. And as I say that, cha1n comes in, gets the first rail, the rockets come in, and once more increases his lead. 7-2 now in favour of cha1n.
Hey, this is kind of vintage cha1n on display as well. Like, we will always big up ZenAku in the sense of that he's been looking better and better, and compared to obviously his performances when he came in, apart from Poland, because he looked damn good in Poland on land, like he's had some iffy seasons. He's struggled a little bit back in stage 3, but he's looked really good throughout the course of stage 4, got his first couple of points to the board, started getting results in. We've seen that clear improvement. However, you chalk that up to cha1n, that I think we've only really been singing his praises, and he's only lost out to some of North America's finest, like in the matchup he had at the stage 3 finals when he went up against cha1n, and that just proved to be too much of a tall order for him. Other than that, he's been playing really damn well. So as soon as he gets into his groove, he's just going to bump and grind his way towards the top. That's what he does best, and we're seeing that. The Athena's a perfect pick for him on a map like this. He's so smart with how to use those grapples and what weapons to prioritize as well. That's the thing that sets cha1n apart. His arsenal prioritization is so damn sick. Unfortunately there, he is going to walk away with some carpet burn as he's dragged across the floor. Does go down, suiciding himself. But he'll probably be straight back in looking for another pop. I doubt that will slow him down in terms of the tempo. We're at 7 minutes in, and it's a 7-2 split.
cha1n now continuing to keep ZenAku on his toes. He's trying to do everything he can, but so far it's not looking too good here. The pick gun come through, nice rocket. Surely he's going to try and be on cleanup duty here, but he gets the mega again. That's such bad timing, but ZenAku still manages to win that bout. This is definitely his opportunity to try and come back here. He's got 2.5 minutes left, but he's not in a position to fight. He needs to back away, go back to his default stack as much as he can. And that was a nice job trying to get away, but it might not be for long as cha1n is still after blood. He wants to increase it. He knows ZenAku could easily come back from this. He lets it get out of hand a little bit too much, but ZenAku now, nice shotgun. But will it be enough? The picker comes through. He's going to try and maybe finish him off, but it could be the wrong play there as he comes up on the bounce pad. And cha1n cleans him up with the LG. May try and get him again. Don't think it will happen though, as he backs away again to see what he can do and fight for another day. But ZenAku's still after him. He's going to try and clean up if he can. Made the assumption, but he went bottom mid. But surely 11 HP, finally. cha1n has been such a nuisance, but gets taken down after a long stint around top mid.
Well, 4 frags difference. The gap is starting to be closed. And that was really nice from ZenAku. No more nails needed after that encounter. If cha1n was a shelf, he'd be well put up against the wall. He wouldn't be coming down even in an earthquake carry. As ZenAku using all of the nails there, ripping him to pieces. 5-8. It's a gap that can be closed, especially if he keeps on hitting shots like this. Jumping around as he bombards his way down with a hailstorm of rockets from top to bottom. Obliterates cha1n, starts to get major items, and starts hitting rails as well. If he got the follow-up off, that would have been sublime. Unfortunately, it means he will waste a little bit more time as he readjusts and looks for the complete capitalization on the kill. Can't overcommit over the lip. He has a sneaking suspicion of cha1n's location, but it's starting to go bad. He gets tagged. cha1n knows that's his entry point back in. He can capitalize, swings into action, lops the head off of ZenAku, puts it on a 9-6 scoreline, and they've only got 50 seconds left to work with. He sends him bouncing out the map as well. ZenAku doing his best Sparty impression, as he will go flying. Oh, Harry, it's 10-6. At this point, it's just about the cha1n show, surely.
It pretty much is. Everyone's been flying out the map on the work, and it's definitely been a trend here. But ZenAku did a great attempt at making a comeback when he was down 8-6, 7-6. But now it's too little too late with 20 seconds left remaining. It's pretty much do or die here. ZenAku's going to try and do what he can, but even if he gets his frag, it's not really doing too much. A beautiful rocket from cha1n there. He's going to see if he can do one more. Pika comes in, doesn't matter. But that was a great attempt there. That was a statement from cha1n. cha1n knew, he's not stupid. He knows ZenAku's also quite good on Awoken. But ZenAku, with cha1n, he was basically saying to him, don't worry, I'm actually really good at this map as well. I'm going to prove to you that I am the better player on Awoken. And he's definitely proven right too. 10-7, not too bad. But the only problem is ZenAku, not too much item control for himself.
No, you can also just see, like, in terms of the major items, as you just said, like, it is night and day difference, right? cha1n so much better in terms of being able to lock down the map. And that also comes back to, although both of them have good movement options, as the two champs they went in with, right? Like, Strog's not slow. Strog is fast. The issue is you can't abuse the geometry on Awoken as much as you can with that grapple. You can get yourself into all the little nooks and crannies. You can squirrel away all of those items and just starve out your opponent, especially when he's then using it to put himself into a position to constantly deal damage with the rail, with the rocket. We saw like 1.4k damage on his rail, and he only had 2 kills with it. But it's the chip damage that he was doing. ZenAku was constantly staggered, always limping around because he just didn't have the stack. cha1n was very good at knocking the stack off straight away.
Yeah, there was definitely an opportunity for openings there. It was just a real shame, but like cha1n just went absolutely off on one. And the fact is that ZenAku actually responded, and it's quite difficult to respond to something like that. When someone's that aggressive and just naturally feeling out their opponent with their game sense and initiating what needs to be done, it's really, really difficult. There's a lot of things you can say about Quake, in terms of like being able to adapt, but when you're in a position where in terms of mindset you're feeling absolutely on it by initiating any kind of attack and feeling that you can get away with it with the confidence of your aim skill, it's actually ridiculous. And you saw signs that ZenAku at the beginning of most maps, you could say he's trying to play a lot more calculated, but trying to add to the speed of it at the same time and the pressure and trying to suffocate your opponent. But good try from ZenAku to try and come back from that, but for cha1n, though, halfway through that game, he was just on another level.
Yeah, well, I said it, Harry. He was building himself a throne of scones, and he's firmly sat atop those scones. They've gone a little bit rock hard, so obviously he can sit on top of them with a chair, and it's fine. But he was living it. He was just slaying every single encounter. He just looked good, and it's nice to see because we've got like this sort of expectation of cha1n now as a player. We know that he's kind of broken into the upper echelons, and it's fantastic to witness. You're in 9th place again. It's the same sort of storyline like Cygib. Those are the two North American players that we know can create even more space between the rest of the standings and climb up. You're probably going to get stuck around the mid portion of the pack. I don't really see you breaking into that top 5 or 4. But if you can get up there and just stay towards the upper half, you're going to be sitting pretty. Come Quake Quan online time, you'll have good seeding. You'll be in a good spot, and it will make your life so much easier in the bracket run.
He certainly will. He's going to be laughing at that moment in time and how much of an impact he's made for the Americas in the global standings. But we are going to head into map number 2 and see if ZenAku can at least get something going here and maybe try and get the lead at the start this time round and see if he can stop cha1n. Actually, no, he did last time when it was 2-0, but he just struggled to stabilise. But this could be a different story here, completely different map. And I believe ZenAku actually selected Molten Falls as the second map pick. But we'll see what he can do here. Is cha1n just hanging around top mid for now to see if he can predict where ZenAku could be. But I love this though from ZenAku. Most people will go up that LG ramp and try and capitalize on contesting the heavy, but pretends to and decides to wait back and listen out. But look at this. You can see ZenAku's trying to read cha1n, and cha1n's got a feeling that he's hiding around that corner, which he now expects. But ZenAku, beautiful rockets there, and will he be able to finish the job? He's so close to it, but cha1n, nice rocket jump just to barely get away from the skin of his teeth. And what a way to start off the first minute of the map.
Good opening. Keeping it close, keeping us on our toes. This is what we want between these two. We want these closer games because we know that ZenAku has slowly been closing the gap in skill level. He's been looking better and better. It has become very fun to watch this man on the server. The issue is, though, cha1n, he really has to set the bar. He has to prove that the goalpost is moved and that you can't catch up with him anymore. Right now, he's playing that slower, more adaptive style of Quake. It's nice to see in the early first couple of minutes, he hasn't been overly aggressive for no reason. He knows that he's got that full 10 minutes of time to work with inside of this bout. This is the arena. You don't need to rush into it. On the peak, though, back towards middle, he gains info once again, firing out the warning rocket and dipping down. Now he's finally got that piercing sight to use the best of his ability. This will set him up as he does try and build a trap close towards the rail room, expecting the push to come around towards the banana, but the turn isn't there. ZenAku doesn't overcommit and run into the unknown. So the major item rotations are still going to be coming up. Mega's just spawned in. ZenAku will pick that one up. So cha1n now actually quite low in the grand scheme of things in terms of the stack. ZenAku can actually play with the build that he's got. He can swing that weight around and he charges in for the early damage. It's only a single 90 that will go out in response from cha1n, but that's both major items in a single rotation picked up for ZenAku. On a character like Slash, that is a big statement to make. Not if you're just eating rails though, and they're being given up for breakfast from cha1n.
He literally took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say with the Slash, cha1n knows how important it is not to give up the first frag or even give him an inch to try and have the lead, because ZenAku will be running rings around him, especially if you've got the item control like he has done for the previous couple of minutes. The rockets come in and ZenAku's got that first important frag, and now it's up to him to decide how he wants this match to go. Does he want to continue with the aggression and making sure that cha1n is kept on his toes and try and at least increase the lead? But again, it depends on the item control. If he hasn't got the item control, he can dilly-dally anywhere he likes, and he's got to be careful as he's going to probably force another engagement in, as he knows ZenAku's directly above him, just trying to bait him out for that heavy. But then again, cha1n does get away with it. cha1n has the stack advantage, but even if he has the piercing sight, it's not enough considering ZenAku's speed and mobility. Manages to get away for now, but he's going to realise that he could be around that rail room. So that's a good prediction there from ZenAku, making sure that cha1n hasn't flanked around and caught him off guard.
Now, coming up towards the 4-minute mark, a little bit of a slower game here on Molten. These are the type of games that can come out. You can play this map entirely different. You've got that major item advantage, if you can actually come out with it, Harry. Plasma Trail going to be dropped as they can back off and put himself into a bit of a better position. Nicely played there from ZenAku. Create space. Good timing to use that ability. And now, with 6 seconds left on the clock, he can just wait. He can effectively slow this down, grind it to a halt as well, play off the audio cues, and just keep his distance. That's a huge benefit that you have. It's not like he's up against a ranger that's got the dire orb that can be pulled out to quickly close the gap. cha1n might know his location, but that's not going to teleport him to him. That's not going to be able to shut down the distance between them both. And ZenAku knows that. Slash is one of those champions that's so effective in the mobility front that you can just keep running. You can farm yourself back up by closing the gap there on the stack, just getting all of the major items and keeping your opponent guessing. cha1n, he has to get ahead of him. It's like Space Invaders. You've got to predict where he's going, not where he's going to be.
That is true indeed, but as you saw there, cha1n was trying to bait out the heavy and was hoping just to burn it, but he has burned it, but it's not going to help himself in any way. 2-0 now. ZenAku's going to back away.
5 minutes.
But I love this from him. He's just hanging around middle to see where he's going. He listens out and realises that he is going to be contesting that mega and manages to grab it. But ZenAku's in a fantastic spot. Having a Slash on Blood Covenant, Ruins, and now Molten Falls. It's extremely difficult to take down a Slash with so much speed and mobility. Even with the piercing sight in hand, it doesn't really help too much. It looks like cha1n may have to play a lot slower and stop giving away his footsteps, stop giving away exactly where he's going. Like even right now, for example, ZenAku knows he's gone middle, knows he's probably going to rotate from rockets to mega, which he has done, and now he's going to get a few shots off and always have the first hit if it's possible, but it's going to be very hard to try and keep up with him. ZenAku now, though, gets a little bit of damage done, drops down to the rail. Seeing where cha1n could be going. He's going back to top shotgun once more, but this could be a good time for cha1n to maybe even try and finish the job, which he hasn't. He's trying to get up from the heavy. Doesn't seem to be the case, but ZenAku now is just going to be focusing on re-healing from his wounds. The first rail comes in. He's going to contest that mega and put himself in a much better spot as he's delaying it just a little bit. Picks it up and now could be on the chase.
ZenAku back on the hunt once again, baiting out with the noise up the bounce pad as well, trying to mess with the mind of cha1n and leave him second guessing. This has been a really good display here on Molten so far from the All-Star Australian. He has been pummeling cha1n. And also just playing the basics really well. He's being able to keep his distance, not really falling into any traps, not giving openings to cha1n. It's not as if he's being able to get that chip damage out as well. That was his first opportunity to do so and punish before he picks up the Mega, but he misses. Doesn't land the shot with the rail, so ZenAku snatches that one. He'll be happy as Larry, smiling from ear to ear as he charges back around, goes in, dropping the plasma trail. He's hitting all of his rockets. He bounces him up into the air and then slams him back down to reality with a rude awakening. That's not a good move. That's not a good look for cha1n either, as he's now down 3 frags. And we're coming up close towards crunch time, Harry. There isn't a lot left in this one. You've essentially got a couple of rotations of major items to go. As they spawn back in, ZenAku wins the fight for it and wins the item itself. So he just overpowers cha1n. 4 frags now.
This is really solid from ZenAku right now. He's getting the first rail in, he's going to try and get the second. He may back away, he's only on 2 HP, but it gets to heavy, so that's one of the big things. Even if he gets taken down at least, he's burnt the heavy, but he's only on 2 HP. He can't take this fight, of course. He's just trying to hide and stay away, but cha1n manages to finish the job. But I'm starting to feel like ZenAku has cha1n's number here. The 3 things I noticed cha1n's doing is either hanging around the LG stairs if he's on the back foot. He'll only contest the Mega if he's down below where the 2 health orbs are, just waiting to see if ZenAku pulls out. And also, the other thing he does do is cha1n tries to bait out the light armor. So ZenAku has realized all 3 of these things and is just keeping tabs. So when ZenAku goes for the Mega, he's already rocketing the LG area, or he's actually, you know, faking rails at the rail side, or even, God forbid, actually tries to contest the Mega down below rather than up top on the rocket spawn. But so far ZenAku gets the Mega, burns the light, and now out is going to see if he can try and clean up. Even then though, the damage has been done. 1.5 minutes left and he's the slash on all things. Jag, I don't think he's got much room here to even make anything happen unless cha1n could be asking close for a miracle at this point.
Yeah, ZenAku, this is his game to lose. He would quite literally have to throw this one away and give the opening to cha1n. And look, he's playing smart as well. We're not even seeing any unnecessary aggression, literally just playing off the audio cues, quickly running away to try and create distance between the both of them. When he realizes that he has been forced into combat, he will commit to do a bit more damage, leave cha1n low off the respawn so that hopefully it slows him down enough. But for cha1n, it's all about putting it on full throttle now. You have to turn up the tempo. You can't walk around treacherously. You need to start causing carnage on the server, chasing him down with the first couple of shots coming through. They're not actually landing. ZenAku, he's been able to get out of there. He's dropped the plasma trail. He's skated his way to victory. And he is doing just that the whole way. That's all he's got to do is keep running at this point. Evade cha1n, and you've won the game. As there is no opportunity for cha1n to catch him off. He can't get ahead of him. He barely gets up close and he's still taking shots. cha1n himself almost got dropped, and that's the way he goes down. The gauntlet. ZenAku in the back garden with the strimmer cuts his way through. Oh no, cha1n has just been locked in half.
Oh, things you hate to see. That's definitely one of them, a gauntlet to the face. 6-3 in favor of ZenAku. That's going to be map number 2, done and dusted. You lose. That was ridiculous. I just don't know what to say. ZenAku, when he's 4-0 up, he played that down to a T. It was perfect. He was making calculated moves. He was making sure that anything in terms of weakness or trying to pick up on anything that cha1n was trying to do in terms of precision or just routes or rotations or flanks, he knew where cha1n was going to be like 8 times out of 10 and always made the correct prediction every single time. Even if he didn't, he would shoot rockets there anyway to feed himself info to find out where he could be coming from. And he managed to figure him out quite easily around the 4 or 5 minute mark.
Mate, calculated plays and a throne of scones. Like he's stolen the throne at that point. No, that was actually a really good masterclass. That was a huge game in terms of just obviously abusing Slash and showing how to use her abilities as a champ to its full advantage. That was wonderful to witness. A huge return to form there from ZenAku. It was a good game. It really was. And now it actually sets up for an even better decider, because this is our first series of the night where we've actually seen an exchange of maps, with cha1n winning the first on Awoken and ZenAku being able to pick up the second here on Molten, meaning Ruins of Sarnath is truly a decider. This is actually going to affect the outcome of the series rather than just being an opportunity to deny points. Interesting bit about this one as well. In terms of the champion picks, we have the Sorlag coming out for ZenAku. He's good on this big girl, Harry. He's very effective at Sorlag. He's played it in the past. I think I've seen some of his Ruin gameplay on Sorlag as well, and he was really strong. He knows how to play the champ to a good advantage. Again, it's another speedy champion. It helps him out, but you've also got the added benefit of the extra tankiness that she can take. Meanwhile, for cha1n, it's all about Galena. We're seeing the Totem Goddess come through once again.
Yeah, bigger hitbox as well. The totems should hopefully help out too. Yeah, I would agree. ZenAku has improved. I feel like he's not just improving, but it's rapid. He's getting a lot of practice in. The grind's clearly paying off. And I'm glad that, like, with him, he's actually practicing for the long term. It's not short term. There's so many players out there who are just trying to make the odd little minor adjustments here and there, which is completely understandable and fine, but you've got to have a long-term goal. You need to make sure you've got to try and realize exactly what you want, what you need to do, and who you need to keep up with. And him being in the European region right now, practicing against all the EU professional players, it seems to be, doing marvels right now. He's actually improving at such a huge rate that he's playing against all these players with 10, 20 years experience per player, and he's actually gaining that experience from them. Yeah, sure, fair enough. He may be losing almost every single scrim, but at the end of the day, when he gets the wins in the Americas, it's going to definitely pay off in the long run, which it has done. Look at stage 4. Compared to what we've seen in stage 3, he's a completely different player.
It is, and that's the better bit, right? Because it doesn't matter what happens in scrims. That's just an environment for you to learn and improve. As soon as you get into officials, and now he's starting to take wins, he's taking maps, he's taking series in officials. Although it's come a little bit late, right? It's still good to show up. And it means that there's so much more building for him as a player. And also, you hit the nail on the head. You got to think the wealth of experience he's now being able to farm, being in Europe, being in Poland, just getting those games in. He was talking about it on obviously the podcast where I believe Zoot sort of asked him the same question. He was expanding on it in the sense that obviously it's brilliant. He's in the heart of Europe. He's got a lot of downtime now where he is there essentially able to practice 24/7 day in, day out. And he's prime for opponents. You can play against Avok. You can play against cha1n. You can queue into all of these different players, have fair matchups against them, and just really lock down that info. It'll get your grey gears turning, Harry, and you'll walk away with a couple more wrinkles on your brain. It will be a huge result in terms of the practice, and we've seen that now being displayed when it comes to his actual in-game performances.
I've got enough wrinkles already, but yeah, you're right though, we need to iron them out any way, shape or form. But yeah, ZenAku, I'm just been so impressed. It's just amazing how someone of that caliber of skill, like we've known he had the potential in the first place with his aim skill and his tracking aim and his rail, everything, the speed, the aggression, everything's there. Just, the coaching he's clearly had is been working through, it's basically day and night. You've seen before where like maybe a couple of weeks ago and last week when we've seen ZenAku play, we've seen him a bit more aggressive, not as methodical as what we've seen. Last week, he's been a little bit more calculated. This week, he's a bit more calculated and the aggression and the speed is flowing through him, which means he's getting more natural for what he's learning and what is being taught in the EU region or whoever's coaching him. He's just doing such a phenomenal job. And, cha1n, I wouldn't say he would have struggled like a month ago, but now I feel like he really will struggle. And heading into map number 3, we'll have to see if ZenAku can at least take this series 2-1 or cha1n will say otherwise.
The only potential issue that I see coming in here is the fact that cha1n will probably take that as a bit of a rude awakening, right? That's like you wake up a little bit late for work, Harry, the phone alarm's going off, it's just blaring at you, your heart's beating, you're trying to find yourself where you are and get yourself right with the world. That's how cha1n's going to feel coming into this third map here. I feel like he's going to be alert and he is going to be ready to tussle. I wouldn't be surprised if he does throw down into the first few minutes and try and open this one up. He's already lost one of his totems that he got down. It was quite exposed, so not really the worst loss to take because he is playing for the bigger picture. That's to get control of the Mega early on. They split their major items. We can see that ZenAku is preferring to go towards the heavy, down in the dumps towards the other side. cha1n putting his totem back up as well. Same angle once more as that'll be dropped down. Low on his arsenal, does need to reposition and finally get rockets in circulation, but seems like he doesn't actually need them. From a distance, using that rail like a scalpel to make an incision onto ZenAku. 2 tags is all that requires. Good read on the drop down as well, but he misses the shot, Harry.
But cha1n, though, doing a great deal of chip damage. It did the first 2 rails, but that rail sadly hit. That would have been huge for him, considering he just picked up the heavy. But it looks like ZenAku is going to try and contest the Mega here, which he manages to grab, and he so desperately needed to grab, considering the amount of damage he just took just now. But cha1n just taking his time here. Needs to be careful with his totem placements as well. Doesn't want to give him away, throw him to waste. The rail comes in for ZenAku, who's going to try and go for one more. Misses the second, but decides to back away, which is completely understandable. As cha1n picks up the next heavy, will be going in and trying to contest the mega if he can. Comes out in the next 4 seconds, misses the tele jump, so it looks like ZenAku may be given that mega for free.
2 minutes through. This is one of the slower starts we've had throughout the day. Normally they've been trailblazing affairs from beginning to end. This time it's a lot more strategic. It's slower. We're seeing those close firefights, and finally a fair amount of damage is being done. A lightning fight from frightening heights as ZenAku taking the LG to the lips from that angle up on top. He was perched over the edge, and cha1n made full use of the distance he could create between the both of them. Now begins to replenish himself. Low on LG. Instead, doesn't opt to actually pick it up. He goes for the bold charge straight around to slingshot himself in towards the mega, pick it back up, and then finally end over towards the LG with a full kit and an even bigger stack. He's got his totems back up as well. That's the first one down again in the same angle as he keeps putting them down. Keeps trying to have them available to him. 3 seconds till heavy spawns in. ZenAku waiting upstairs towards mega, but the timing's muddied. It's been a little bit scuffed, and there is still 6 seconds till it's coming into play. He's just holding his angle, spamming out the snowballs with the plasma, as he does want to create some space between the both of them. And cha1n's not looking to actually overcommit. He's playing smart here, Harry.
He certainly is indeed. First round for cha1n. Was looking for the second, but is taking way too much trike bolt damage to maybe even progress further, but it looks like the heavy will be contested. It could be the first frag on the board here, as ZenAku's the one who comes out on top and manages to take him down nicely, and he's got a great stat to continue on and maybe go for the second. He's going to try and contest the rocket if he can. Rockets come in, but it looks like you can see cha1n's been a little bit unpredictable in terms of his movement, so ZenAku's decided to back away. Sadly misses the first rail from down below, and it seems like here he's just trying to regain his composure, getting the light, getting the health orbs, getting anything to kind of go back to his default stack. But you can see here ZenAku's just waiting to see if he can get an angle on cha1n, but it's not looking too good here. He needs to back away. He just walked into that totem, so he's feeding cha1n a little bit of information here as he's trying to hold top mid enough to maybe even contest that mega, but has decided to make the decision to back away. Put the information from the damage there to know exactly where cha1n is going, but this could be a frag here for cha1n, and it is, as already cha1n managed to tie things up.
1-1 apiece as we roll past the 420 mark, and the game keeps on developing. 5 rockets left here for cha1n in reserve. Instead, he'll opt to try and use the LG, running low on ammunition for that as well, as he spams out with the first, but no real tags are going to come out. He can't start to run amok. Instead, he needs to slow it down, and again, just play for the major items. Get the mega back up, replenish his health, denying back towards the light armor as well, and skirting his way around to grab a last-minute rail. He's also just on time for the heavy spawn, but I prefer that info play. Push up towards the stairwell even, Harry. I can't talk today. Gets up the stairs, drops the totem, and he gets the early read off, so that way he'll at least know if there is a push coming around. ZenAku, though, not going to bother. He's instead doing a bit of hardcore parkour, up on top of the wall, peeking over the top and looking to try and punish from above. cha1n just basically chasing him off. It's all about territory at this point.
cha1n has an inkling is on that heavy bounce pad, which he was, and is after blood. ZenAku's just trying to regain strength once more, as he's going to let cha1n get away with the heavy. Completely understandable, but this is not a fight ZenAku wants to take, as he tries to back away as fast as possible. Completely understandable, and needs to work on trying to get those light armors if possible. Mega coming up in the next 2 seconds. The only problem with ZenAku now is the fact that the items are so split that cha1n has enough time to go for both and's got a clear opening for them. But that's at this moment in time. cha1n is just trying to see if he can catch ZenAku off guard. He has done with the LG. Surely this is clean-up duty for him, and it is. Gets the second frag and the lead and the heavy, and knows exactly where ZenAku is with that spawn. He's going to try and contest the mega once more. ZenAku still trying to flank around, trying to get away, trying to make a decision on exactly where he wants to go. It's a little bit undecisive there, which is understandable because cha1n's been a little bit unpredictable with his movement, but cha1n's taken so much damage here. ZenAku surely is so tempted to go for cha1n, decides to prioritize the mega, as cha1n is going to prioritize the heavy.
suppose not really in the worst possible position in terms of the timing, so he doesn't necessarily need to fully commit to that fight, but it did seem like he had enough of an advantage that he could have played onto it. But dropping down from an angle like that, whenever you're going from top to bottom and over a ledge, if your opponent has an LG or gets off that opening rail, you're basically just going to be Mary Poppins and just held in the air, getting tag after tag. So it's not a good move. He decides against it, instead just played the smarter game of going for the items. But time's really starting to pass now. We've already had another rotation come up. cha1n's got it, and he drops down, instead suffering the same fate. He takes a ton of damage on re-entry as he slowly makes his move down towards the ground, but the reposition on the angle was nice. He does get the rail out, but it won't matter. Both of them are now so low in terms of their overall stack, and it puts them into a worrying position. ZenAku, he has to capitalize soon though. Needs to bridge the gap, put it back onto a 2-2, as time is ticking away. He's taking shots straight to the face as well. Needs to protect his neck as he launches his way over. He's just trying to create the distance between them, close that gap, but cha1n just keeps running, just keeps avoiding him.
As if he managed to get away from that on 10 HP as well. That was ridiculous, to say the least. 2 minutes 20, though. Still got plenty of time. ZenAku just regaining his stack. He's on a very good stack, actually, to say the least. But still plenty of time to try and topple cha1n in any way and equalise the scoreline. It's been quite a slow game, but very calculated, very methodical. Neither player wants to give each other an advantage. ZenAku now knows where he is. Takes that rocket on the head. But still, though, cha1n is getting a feel out of exactly where he could be and listening out for where he could be as well. It's just deciding to prioritise the light armours. But it looks like it's going to be a game where ZenAku is going to be playing cat and mouse. But as I said, look at the LG damage taken. ZenAku surely has to back away from that fight, which he does, and he's going to try and contest the Mega, but instead, ZenAku manages to get it. ZenAku gets the rail as well. Ties things up 2-2 here, Jack.
And now you've got an opportunity to win the series. You could best cha1n. That's a huge result for ZenAku. If he snatches away a series win here against cha1n, the comeback kid, the Godslayer, the big man himself, he can brawl some of the best, and he's shown that week in, week out. But right now, he can't withstand the rolling thunder. ZenAku is beating the drum. It seems like he's going on to be able to beat cha1n as well. Down to 60 seconds. Scoreline is tied for now. Rebuilding his stack back up. Playing down towards the heavy room. He knows it's coming up soon. Lurks for a couple of seconds, muddying the timing by a small, minute amount. But he's got the big stack. This big girl is locked and loaded, 2-2, and ready to dance into the next firefight. They are willing to pay for that sudden death as well. Instead, this gives them time to rebuild themselves back up, have the best possible stack going into that sudden death, so it'll be the fairest possible firefight. And that's what they're trying to play with. They're not instigating any fights that wouldn't be welcoming, but this could be where death arrives and it comes a knocking. ZenAku, trying to speed up the course of the game, leaps into action. Causes the brawl versus cha1n, but he doesn't fancy his chances. He backs off, repositions, instead setting a course towards the Mega. Lots of damage done on re-entry, though. ZenAku is low, and he could be even lower, potentially left lifeless if he's zapped away by cha1n's LG, punishing him with the early shots. We go into sudden death. ZenAku, how is he even still alive? Just barely stuck behind this eyeball. But in comes cha1n with a giant contact lens, slams his way through him, and cleans up with a nice rocket. Good way to shut down the game. Barely ends it there into sudden death, as we will finish that one up on a 3-2 split. He will take the series over ZenAku, but one of the closer series we've had with cha1n to date.
That was ridiculous. I don't even think cha1n expected ZenAku to contest the Mega like that. He probably made the assumption that he's going to take it to sudden death. He's going to see what he can do. But even then, I'm surprised cha1n got away from the heavy area. Like, I think if ZenAku had some slightly better placed rockets to keep him down there rather than let him get away, it could have been a completely different story. It could have actually been ZenAku who won that map. It's very 50-50. It's just a real shame. But, you know, you saw there's ZenAku out at the end, dancing around the eye, just trying to at least stay alive. But he knew at the same time that cha1n wasn't railable. He was hoping that rocket would do enough damage to maybe make the effort to rail him and then get that 3-2 lead and take the whole entire series. But this wasn't to be, I'm afraid. But again, impressive stuff. Both players who are definitely some of the aggressive we have in the Americas, both playing a little bit more calculated, not really wanting to give each other any kind of advantage in any way, shape or form. But it was great stuff. It's just a shame it ended in that way, but congratulations to cha1n anyway for taking that series. And ZenAku, very impressed by him in terms of what he's actually done over the past few weeks. Definitely been more and more polished as the Pro League's gone by.
No, he has. And it's been really fun to watch that growth as well, right? Like, he is an enjoyable competitor. He's fun when we have him in these duels, especially when he is challenged as well. Going up against an opponent like cha1n there, we've become to expect a lot from cha1n. And he did deliver. He did give us what we wanted. He does get the series win and keeps himself in a good position. So both him and Saigi are probably going to be happy with their results today in terms of their growth in the points. For ZenAku, it's an unfortunate loss, but as a benchmark, that game was really wonderful to witness. It gave us a lot to look forward to the more we see ZenAku. There is still more Quake to go down tonight as well. Of course, coming up next is going to be a bit of a treat as we'll be going into Avok versus Venga. Now, we also prepared something quite special for you. Freya is back and she is conducting some more interviews with our professionals. So she caught up with Venga and let's find out what he had to say for himself.